Hey, it's Grumpy Guys for we're going for the trifecta here with three new videos. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys my sort of device of choice right now for OPNsense, and that is one of these Quotom or Quotom boxes. I had a video, I have a video previously in my feed regarding the J 1900 or whatever it was, but I don't recommend that going forward. I recommend at minimum the i3 because if you're gonna, I just figure if you're gonna run something like OPNsense or PFSense or anything like that, you're gonna want to take advantage of the more advanced features like Suricata or Snort or enhanced blocking or geo blocking, things like that. So my go-to is the Quotom. Now I get them from AliExpress, but I did notice that there was some in Amazon. I couldn't find. I was going to do a price comparison between the i3 on Amazon and on AliExpress, but on Amazon.ca there's nothing. There's not. I can't find the i3 right now. But anyways, I do recommend in most cases the i3. This one here, the 5005U, the first one here. And if you scroll down here, it's going to show you that that is the Broadwell Core i3 5505U dual core 3 meg cache 2 gigahertz Intel HD graphics. I find that's going to be probably in 90% of the cases overkill unless you're deploying this in sorry, I'm talking about sort of SMB space here. Unless you're going to be deploying this into something that has hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of users, and having the ability to do like gigabit routing, uh, like it'll do gigabit routing, no problem. But if you're going to apply IPS onto this, you may need something bigger if you're gonna push like gigabits of traffic through this with Suricata and other things like that. So, anyways, what I do is I get this one here with no RAM, no SSD, and I supply my own memory. I like to just supply a high quality memory and high quality SSD. Usually, I go for the Samsung Pros. Get the smallest one that's available to me, probably 120 gig, and stick that in there. And then memory, memory's a toss up. It could be something like Crucial or Samsung, whatever. And I I tend to put 8 gigs in all of them, not because it's required. It's just that the price difference between 4 and 8 to me doesn't justify not putting the 8 in. Most of the time, because in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, let's just say I take these devices out of there and I swap them with something else, I'm not going to be left with like an older device that only has 4 gigs of memory. If it has 8, when I take it out, it actually might be useful for something else. So I kind of go ahead and look to the future, saying if I put 8 gigs in there now and forget about it, when I take it out of there, I'll be pleasantly surprised that this firewall not only has a 5th gen i3, but also 8 gigs of memory and a very good high quality SSD. So that's my recommendation there. I don't get the Wi-Fi. I don't have no need for Wi-Fi on the on the router at all. So yeah, that's just a quick talking point. One of the other things I wanted to point out here, and just by experience, I found this out myself. If you look down, I had an issue with these initially, where they wouldn't power themselves up after a reboot or power loss. Not after reboot, but after power loss. So the power would go out and the router wouldn't come back, and I'd be like, "What the hell?" I had to have clients actually power them manually back on for me. I'm like, "What's going on here?" This is a huge defect. In fact, it wasn't a defect. It's just a problem of that there's a jumper on the board. Let me show you guys. Do they have that photo here? No, they don't. One second. I will get that for you. Is it in specs? No. Oh. Anyways, one of these jumpers is resume power after power loss. It's actually done on a jumper. Now, all the current versions of these that I've received and that I've deployed out there, like I said, I think I'm on my eighth, but I just ordered two more, so it'll be almost 10. I've had to move a jumper from one place to another. I think it's this one here, from one place to another, in order to allow power on after power loss. You can go into the BIOS. This is the weird thing with this. You can go into, like, you're able to access the BIOS here as it shows you here, but you cannot make any changes. It's read only. Strange. So I went in here and I saw that there was a, power state, and it was at, I think it was off, and I set it to last state, save, exit, reboot, went back into the BIOS, and flipped back to off. So this is a read-only BIOS. You can view the settings. You can actually physically go ahead and change it. I can go ahead and turn Watchdog to enabled in this picture, as you can see. But if I save and exit and reboot, it goes back to disabled. So you can't actually do any of that through the BIOS. I also made some other changes here, and they just don't stick. So it's obviously read-only, and for power on after power loss, you gotta go in and flip this jumper. Guys, really, if you're gonna be deploying this, please do this first. It'll save you a ton of headaches, and you know how clients are, right? They just yell at you for everything. Second thing is, while I was in here flipping the jumper on all these for resume power state, I also went ahead and applied new thermal grease. So I bought what's that stuff called? Silverstone or whatever thermal grease, the good stuff. And I just applied another layer of thermal grease on top of the chip. There was already some there, but not as high quality, not as much as I would have liked when it shipped OEM. So when you take the cover off, it's actually quite easy. You just have to remove sort of these 4 screws here, and then the 4 screws underneath. There's 4 screws underneath, and then you can just pull the motherboard, slide it right out. And then under there, you'll see the chip is going to be kind of like under here somewhere. This might be a different unit here, but anyways, you can easily put new thermal grease on there, and when you put the case back on, it'll be running that much cooler. I noticed myself personally, a 4, maybe 3 to 5 degrees Celsius drop in temperature when I applied the new thermal grease. So anyways, I think that's all I have to say. Oh yeah, there is something else. I purchased an i7 version of this because I was going to install it at one of my higher bandwidth clients that they use a lot of bandwidth. And I think I saw my first defect in one of these. I haven't seen any so far, but in the i7 version, which would have been this, which one is it? This guy here. The Q3754, the network interfaces were in the wrong, were logically in the wrong order. So I think there was something wrong in the firmware of the network controller. Basically, these become like IGB 0, 1, 2, and 3 in OPNsense. And for whatever reason, it became, when it ran the scan of the interfaces, I think it was 0, 2, 3, 1, and they just, they weren't in the right logical order. Anyways, I had nothing I could do about that. I tried a bunch of things, but it kept detecting it in that order, which tells me there's probably some issue in the firmware of the network controllers. Now it still runs perfectly fine. It's just that IGB 1, I believe, became the last port. So in that particular configuration, I was doing an HA, and that kind of it didn't screw anything up. It just meant that the ports don't match from one device to the other. I might do a video on the HA. The only problem is that it's already on site. It's not in production yet, but anyways, I might do a video on HA. Anyways, that's the only defect I found so far with these things. So make sure you flip the jumper. I will see if I can post a link to the proper diagram of where the jumper is located. I believe it's this guy here. But anyways, guys, I'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.